she calls me on FaceTime and I see that she says, Abba, they're shooting at us, get me out of here. And I look around her and she shows me that there's people around her shot, bleeding out everywhere. All around her, people are shot and wounded, and there's blood on the floor, and it looked out of a movie scene. It was just, I was like, oh my gosh, this is serious.
Hello and welcome back to this channel. My name is Rabbi Eichenblatt, and here I explore topics related to Judaism, Hasidism, culture, and more. Today, I am speaking with Sydney resident Rabbi Yosef Eichenblatt. On Hanukkah of 2025, his family lived through the violent attack in Sydney, during which his daughter's life was miraculously saved. This conversation is his oral history. Thank you. I really appreciate you doing this, especially with so much going on. How are you doing this Friday for you?
Good. Thank God. It's been busy. Just got back from Israel, which has been amazing. And yes, just getting back stuck into it. The year's about to start. So yeah, very excited.
Who's in Sydney with you? Who lives in Sydney? You're there with your family? Your residents
my wife
of Sydney?
And 4 children. Yep.
What ages?
My children are ages 15, 13, 11, and 1. That's our Am Yisrael Chai baby.
What does that mean?
Am Yisrael Chai baby, that's a baby we had after October 7th.
Oh, after October 7th. Okay, I understand now. How long have you lived in Australia? Because your accent is obviously not Australian.
I grew up in Los Angeles, and we got married here in 2009. And been living here for the most part since then, other than about 3-4 years we spent in Israel.
What's it like to have Hanukkah in the summer for an American?
It was different. It's taken some time to get used to. Well, I guess the first thing is that you can't light menorah till it's getting dark. So that's around 7, 8. You can't really light menorah till like 7, 8 o'clock at least. So that's the first thing. So a lot of times, I always look forward to those memories of the family gathering around and hanging out for hours, eating latkes, playing dreidels and presents in the evening, which in America you could do from like 5. So in Australia, a lot of kids, by the time we get to menorah lighting, are, they could be asleep or tired. So that's one thing. But another is, it's summer. So this pool, people be in bathing suits coming in from the pool or from the beach and, lighting menorah. It's just a totally different experience.
I can't imagine the flavor of Hanukkah, it not being cold. It must have a different feel for the whole Hanukkah experience.
It's a very different feel. Look, I grew up in Los Angeles, so there was no snow, but it was cold for us. There are people here in Australia, it's very popular. They want to get that American Christmas experience. So they do Christmas in July, because July is our winter. So they'll have like a reenactment of Christmas where they'll have the trees and the snow, and they'll go up to some hotels in the mountains and try to do that to get that feeling. But look, I guess any feeling that you have in life is about the memories and the association. So for my wife, she can't imagine having Hanukkah not in the summer. For them having, sunscreen and water and sun, together with donuts and menorah, that's their memories.
Wow. Have you been doing something like going to menorah lighting on the beach since you moved to Sydney? Is this like a regular thing?
We go pretty much every year to that the Kabad Bondi Hanukkah by the sea, almost pretty much every year. This year was no different. This year was a little bit different in the lead up to it. So this year, Hanukkah, the first night of Hanukkah was on Sunday. So usually the different shuls. So we're a very small community here in Sydney, very close, tight-knit community. Even if you're a member of one shul, I'm a rabbi at the Central Synagogue, which is the largest shul in Australia. But although our community has our own Hanukkah events, we'll still join other shuls' events, and vice versa. A lot of people go to all sorts of events. So every night there's an event. So this year, because the first night was on Sunday, 2 shuls wanted to make their event on the first night, which is unusual. They try to spread it out. So this year, Sunday, so there was Hanukkah at the sea, which is Kabad of Bondi. And then the Dover Heights Shul also put on an event, which is also a very big menorah lighting that they do every year. I guess they didn't want to wait till the last Sunday when everybody's all Hanukkah'd out. And that's in Dover Heights, which is about 5-10 minute drive from Bondi Beach. Also beautiful lighting. It attracts a large crowd every year. So yeah, this year we were deciding with the kids where to go. My daughter wanted to go to Chanukah by the sea, Bondi Beach, and my son wanted to go to Dover Heights. So we went to both.
What was the other one? Was it also a beachfront thing or not?
It was actually, it's in this beautiful park in Dover Heights, overlooking the harbor, Sydney Harbor. So you can see the Opera House, the bridge. It's a gorgeous view, and there's a huge menorah there. It's in a more secure park. I remember thinking prior to the event, it's like, the Bondi Beach, it's like right there in the middle. And I remember thinking, it's going to be very exposed. And just with the climate of anti-Semitism, I was just conscious that I wasn't necessarily conscious about like a security threat. I wasn't worried about that, but I was just conscious about potential, verbal abuse or, a lot of stares or looks. And I remember feeling a little bit more comfortable at the Dover Heights one, because it was a more secure, kind of secluded area.
Have you experienced in general, since October 7th, or in general more recently, anti-Semitism like that?
So I wear my yarmulke everywhere where I go. I'm very proud, loud. I wear my tzitzis out. I'm not about hiding who I am. I want to be authentic, and I don't feel we should have to hide. So I personally have not experienced any overt anti-Semitism. On the contrary, I've experienced a lot of people coming over to me and saying, we stand with you, we support Israel, and all those things. My wife notices as I walk through a shopping center, people looking at me, and she might get nervous, but it's never really bothered me. But my children, my 15-year-old son, who's now 15, and my 11-year-old son, who was 9 at the start of all this, they have multiple times experienced people yelling at them and different anti-Semitic things like that, because they walk around with their kippahs too. Most recently, my 15-year-old son was on the bus on the way home from school with a couple friends, and there were some Middle Eastern looking older kids, maybe 19, 20-year-old, who asked them, they sat specifically next to them or in front of them and, said, do you support Israel or Palestine? And my son is there on his iPhone, and he looks up and he says, I support Israel. And they said, well, we're going to kill you. And they started saying free Palestine and Hail Hitler and making the Nazi salute. And the other kid was freaking out. And my son he took his AirPod, put it back in his ear, and probably kept on watching the basketball highlights. And he didn't even tell us till like the next day. But yeah, we filed a report, told the police, they came down to the school, took statements. So it was, I was really proud of him because he wanted to get an e-bike. And we said, well, and he wanted us to pay for it. So we said, if you get a job, we'll lend you the money. He got a job at Ben & Jerry's at Bondi Beach for a few hours on a Sunday. And as he was about to start the job, my wife and I, my wife was telling me, I'm a bit worried about him wearing his yarmulke. I said, no, it's not the way we need to live. We have to be proud. And we asked him, we said, are you going to wear your yarmulke? And he said, of course. Why wouldn't I?
And this is after that incident on the bus.
Yeah. And yeah, I was very proud of him, because it was obvious. And, we went down and he's wearing his yarmulke, and he hasn't, and actually he said people have come to him in the shop and saying they support Israel and all that. So obviously there is anti-Semitism, as there is everywhere. But I feel like the people who are always worried about it and and hide because of it only get to experience the negative. The people who actually, are identifiably Jewish get to experience the positive as well. Besides for the fact that, we just came back from Abu Dhabi in Dubai. And for me, I was like, yes, of course I'm going to wear my yarmulke. I brought a baseball cap in my suitcase in case it was going to be dangerous or which it wasn't. But I always look forward to advertising the fact that I'm a Jew, because I feel that it's an opportunity every time that people see me. I may be the only Jew that people will see. It's an opportunity for me to set an example and show and teach people who Jews are, and maybe any perception that they may have had about Jews being bad people. I can be the person to change that. So I'm literally a walking billboard for the entire Jewish people. And, that's a responsibility I take very seriously, but it also an incredible opportunity that I look forward to. So, and it's really sunny.
What was it like in Abu Dhabi?
It's great. No issues at all. Me and my children wore yarmulkes everywhere. Tzitzis out. We went to the Grand Mosque, the Sheikh Zayed Mosque, with our yarmulkes and tzitzis. Some people said Salam Alaikum, and people said Shalom. Yeah, other Jews saw us and said Am Yisrael Chai. There was a couple other Jews sobering. It's so funny that the people who look really, really frum with, payas or big beards and wearing a baseball cap, they think if you put on a baseball cap, you can't realize that they're Jewish. But yeah, it's a very positive experience.
Wow. How come you went?
We went to Israel, and it was a stopover on the way back. And we said, let's make a little holiday out of it. Get to explore another country, another culture. So we spent about 3 days there.
You mind if I ask of what your official Jewish affiliation is, like what you identify yourself as, if you do?
Yeah, I identify as Kabad. I'm also a rabbi of modern Orthodox shul. So I'd say probably modern Chabad. I'm not your typical Chabad, but I try to follow as much as I can the Rebbe and all that.
Did you grow up Chabad?
Yeah, my parents are Bali Tshuva. Grew up in Los Angeles, going to Chabad schools.
What does being Chabad mean to you? I'm asking because I'm working on a video about Chabad. I'm curious what people mean by that.
What does Chabad mean to you? So my mother didn't grow up Chabad, and she told me what it means to be Chabad is to follow Chabad Menhagim. I actually think she's probably right. But it's probably a lot more than just that. This attack in Bondi really highlighted for me what it means to be Chabad, or what it means to be a follower of the Rebbe, put it that way. So first of all, there's a story where somebody came past the Rebbe and said, I want to be a chassid, but he was clean shaven. He didn't look the part. And the Rebbe said, if you're somebody who keeps on trying to, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not going to get it exactly correct, but pretty much if you're somebody who's always trying to grow, then you're my chassid. And for me, that's always been a guiding light, somebody, trying to grow in their Judaism and in all areas of life, because to be, there's a saying, Chabad mont pnimius. Chabad demands internal work. Yeah. And it's not just about the clothes that you wear. It's not just about the things that you say on the outside, but it's really internally who you are as a person and embodying the character traits of a chassid and somebody who's always trying to grow in their connection and relationship with God and relationship with their mission in the world, also their fellow human beings and the entire world and the environment that we're in. We don't close out the world. We embrace the world and try to elevate it and uplift it and use it for to make this world a better place and to bring Mashiach. So that's our goal. And obviously the clothing is an identifiable marker. And I made a conscious decision, on Shabbos to wear a kapata. And one of the reasons is because I want to say, yes, I'm part of the Rebbe's team. I identify as one of his people, as one of, just like anybody in any team. And that means a lot to me. And I think that's a privilege and an honor to wear that. But, in relation to this attack at Bondi Beach and Hanukkah, coming out of it, it really highlighted to me what it means to be Chabad in an external way. Because we came back from the attack. We came home, and my children were very understandably, we were all scared and panicked. We came in the house that, my younger son had gotten there before us, because I went to pick up my daughter, and lights were off, shutters, everything that could be locked was locked. Everything was closed. We didn't know, are they coming to our house? Is there more shooters? We were still hearing that there's still a shooter on the loose. So we were getting in reports. We were on our phones trying to find out what was happening. We heard our friends were shot. We didn't know if they're okay. What's their status? Found out later that they had died. Who's missing? Who's around? And it was very tense. It was dark. And I immediately, and when you're in a limbic state, when you're thinking from your limbic brain, from your reptilian brain, which is your automatic, your go-to, when you're in a fight or flight situation, in a survival situation, you go to what's really, really core in your body and in your mind. And people respond different ways. And I remember in that moment, I said to my family, this energy is not right. We need to bring light to this situation where it's too negative, it's too heavy. And I said, we need to start bringing light as soon as possible. So I said, we're worried about our friends. Let's start saying Tehillim. We started saying Tehillim. I said, we're worried. Okay, now, and my son was just reading Tehillim. We said it all together. And then I said, okay, now it's Hanukkah. Let's go. It's about to be Hanukkah. Let's light the menorah. Let's bring light to this house. And then as the reports are coming in, I'm like, no, we're not going to light menorah inside the house as we do as Kabad, which is our custom. So we're going to light on the street tonight. And we opened the door and we took our menorah. We live on Bondi Road, and we lit on the street. And there were still police cars going up and down the road. And it was, it was a scary situation. We weren't sure, but I said, we're not going to let them control us. We're not going to let them dictate how we live. And we're going to be loud and proud, and we're going to be spreading light no matter what. And from that moment, that was like our personal victory over that darkness. Even though it was scary, but we did it. And the light won over the darkness. And there's this mantra that I've just been keeping on saying since then, which is, they cannot put out our light as long as we have the courage to keep on lighting our flame. And these are the Rebbe's teachings. It's the light over darkness. When there's a tragedy, you come out stronger, you come out bigger and brighter. There was this story that was in my mind, which is when there was a terrible terrorist attack years ago, I think in the 70s in Kfar Kabad in Israel, when it was just a new settlement for Chabad people in Israel. And there's terrorists that came in and shot, children and students and rabbis while they were davening, and killed a bunch of people. And the Rebbe says, okay, now we're going to build a second Kfar Chabad. We're going to build more, and we're going to double down and expand and use this as a catalyst to become stronger and greater. And that was my mantra. And I made a video, put it on my Instagram about it. Light will win darkness. And I started sending out text messages to all my WhatsApp groups, the young adults and people in our community. I said, light the menorah, light will win over darkness. And in the unfolding and the aftermath of this event, I saw all the other Chabad rabbis were coming out with the same message. And I was like, yes, this is all because we learn and follow the Rebbe's teachings. And it's obvious and it's automatic for us. It's not even like we had to think or come to that sort of, what's a positive we can take out of this after we debrief. That was the natural reaction. And to me, there's a pair of glasses that you put on, you can see the world through the Rebbe's glasses. And when you learn the Rebbe's Sichos and learn the Rebbe's Mamarim and you learn Chassidus, you can put on these glasses. And that's one of the major privileges of what it means to be Chabad, where you get to see the world through a positive light and get to see the world through this lens and this frame, which is an incredible outlook and perspective on bringing light, light winning over darkness, personal growth, and so much more. And I'm so lucky to be able to have a pair of glasses that I can put on or have on. That God is a guiding force in my life.
Thank you for that very, very special answer. That was a very, very special answer. I appreciate that. You want to tell me what happened before you came back to the house? What went down? Who was on Bondi Beach during the attack? Or maybe start from the beginning when the family leaves the house.
Okay, so we left the house, and my son wanted to go to Bondi Beach. My daughter wanted to go there. Her friends were there. My daughter Aliyah is friends with Chai Dadon and some others. They said, Aliyah, come down to the beach. It's so much fun. So we went there. And
they go to Kabad school?
Well, it's a community school. It was established by Kabad, but it's for everyone. So it's an Orthodox school with Chabad ethos. So, but you'll have all sorts of people there. It's pretty much the only real frum school in Sydney. There's another much bigger school, which is officially modern Orthodox, but most of the children there are not from frum homes, from Orthodox homes, more traditional. There used to be a yeshiva, a more frum school, but that's not around anymore. Yeah, so we went down to the beach. We went to the event there. And we're like, oh, it looks amazing. We were spending time my kids were playing at the petting zoo, the bubbles, all that. I remember going over to my friend Rabbi Eli Schlenger, and having a chat with him. He was putting on tefillin with people as always. So I went over to my friend Rabbi Yaakov Levin and had a chat with him. Sorry, not Yaakov Levin, Rabbi Yaakov Levitin. Levitin is how you pronounce the name. He used to be my neighbor. Whenever I said hi to him, everything was normal. And after a while, sorry.
What kind of crowd comes to something like this? Like people you generally know?
So it's a very mixed crowd. It's a very mixed, yeah. So there'd be a lot of people that we know. So regulars in the Chabad community, regulars in the just general frum community. Also, this one attract a lot of the Russian community, so people who you won't see at regular events. So there'll be a lot of older couples or Russian families, because Rabbi Ullman from Chabad Bondi it's the Russian community. It's a massive mix. You get some Israelis, you'll get Australians, you get everybody. And that's Sydney, and that's part of the beauty of Sydney Jewish community is that we're all one, and it's a smaller community, so we do celebrate together. Yeah, everything was normal. And after a while, my son was saying he wanted to go see his friends at the Dover Heights lighting, which was a 5-10 minute drive up the road. We left our daughter Aliyah with her friend Chaya, and my sister-in-law was there as well, and went up to the Dover Heights menorah lighting. And there was even more people there, and it was more festive. It was a beautiful event. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the event, I'll just see it was the middle of a speech from somebody from the government. It was the speech part of the event. All of a sudden, the whole place starts running, like just running across the field. There's a massive field, running across, and people yelling, screaming, attack. And so we were saying there's a shooter, and there's families on the floor crying, people falling over, people trying to hide, people yelling out, trying to find their children. And
where were you?
Kind of looking around, and I was there with my wife and our baby and our son. And I'm like, what's going on? Are people being paranoid again? And I'm like, I don't see any attacker. And CSG's, I see the CSG people walking around, and they're trying to figure out, CSG is a community security group, the volunteering security group. I see them like looking around and trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, there's no attacker. And I have a friend who's in Netzala, Yehuda Niaza from the Central Synagogue. He said, he heard on his radio, there's a shooter in Bondi Junction. And we already had an attack a year and a half ago in Bondi Junction. There was a stabbing attack. But wasn't specifically to the Jewish community. So it's like, okay, here we go again. And then he said, oh no, it's in Bondi Beach. And I look at my wife, I said, Aliyah's in Bondi Beach. We have to get her. And then she calls me on FaceTime, and I see that she says, Abba, they're shooting at us. Get me out of here. And I look around her, and she shows me that there's people around her shot, bleeding out everywhere. All around her, people are shot and wounded, and there's blood on the floor. And it looked out of a movie scene. It was just, I was like, oh my gosh, this is serious. CSG was on the microphones telling people, everybody get down, we're in lockdown mode. Everybody has to stay down. And I told my wife, I'm like, we are not staying with the crowd. I said, you go home, take the kids, get home. I'm going to go get Aliyah. I ran to my car as fast as I could while on FaceTime with my daughter. And I told her, Aliyah, run to Vitek's house. Vitek lives across the road. She said, I can't. We're locked down. CSG is telling us to stay in lockdown, not to move. So got in my car, rushed over to her, and tried to get in there, and it was all blocked off. So I said, okay, meet me on one of the side streets. And by that time, they had got the shooter, and her and my sister-in-law met me in one of the back streets, and got them out of there. But yeah, she was in the middle of people all around her were shot, were killed. Her friend Chaya Dadon was right next to her. Chaya got out. Chaya was under the table. My daughter was hiding behind a stroller. And Chaya saw that there was a mother that was trying to protect her children with her body. And she was shot. And she was yelling out. She had fallen over. She was yelling out, come out. Somebody please help save my children. So Chaya got out from under the table and laid on top of her children. And she said she knew that she could have been shot, but she felt that it was her mission. Hashem said to her, she has to go and protect these children. She didn't know them. She just laid on top of them, said Shema with them, and she was shot. And thank God she's okay. She was shot in the leg. But she protected those children. And, people were just lying there screaming Shema. I told my daughter as we got home, we were sitting on the couch debriefing, and we were looking at the video. She took videos during the time. You could literally see bullets flying around and people being shot all around her. And afterwards, people were looking. There was a panic and frantic. People were trying to say, have you seen my friend? Have you seen this person? Have you seen that person? And as the pictures were coming on the different WhatsApp groups, she's like, oh yeah, he's dead. I saw him. He's dead. I saw that person. He's been shot. She's bled out. I said, Aliyah, you were saved by a miracle. Everybody around you was shot. They're either dead or wounded. And you weren't. That means the fact that you're alive means that Hashem protected you because you have a light that you need to bring and continue to bring to this world. Your job's not over. Your mission in this world's not over, which means you have to focus on this incredible reason of why you're here in this world. And it's obviously very important because if it wasn't, you probably would have been shot. And the fact that you're alive and the fact that any of us are alive at any single moment or any single day means that there's a reason and a purpose for us to be here. And times like this remind us that we need to refocus. Why am I here in this world? We're here just to eat, sleep, drink, and get by? Or is there a unique light and a unique reason to me being here? And what can I contribute? And how can I make this world a better place? How can I make the side of light win over the darkness? And, God doesn't create doubles. If I'm alive today, it means that there's something unique that me as who I am can contribute to this world in a way that nobody else can.
How's Aliyah been dealing with everything that she's been through?
She's been dealing really well. Actually, she's, thank God, she's such a resilient. Even in the middle of the whole attack, she was very coherent. She called me. She was doing all the right things. She was trying to hide. She was thinking through, what was going on. She was trying, and then afterwards, she's just been talking about it. over and over, going through it. We've, taken her to some professionals. The Hatzalah team from Israel of mental health professionals came out. They said, yeah, it's just important to talk about it and highlight, the strength that you've had in the moment and the positives that you've done, and not to ruminate on necessarily the negatives, not to ignore it, but go through it and create a timeline, but to focus on the positives that came out of it.
What happened that night after you got home and lit the menorah? Did you guys sleep that night at all?
Yeah, we eventually went to sleep. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, we were glued to our phones. We were trying to just be positive. We were trying to, celebrate Hanukkah as much as we could. Yeah, we probably just fell asleep from exhaustion at some point.
When did you start to hear reports of who was lost?
Well, that's what was going on that whole in the following days. There was people trying to create lists, going around to the different hospitals, seeing who was injured. In some of the hospitals, they wouldn't give out any information. They were keeping it classified. They had all the victims under aliases, because one of the hospitals are in the Muslim areas. And there's been, I don't know if you've seen, but maybe about a year ago, there was nurses in that hospital that came out on social media in an interview. They just said, yeah, if there's a Jew or an Israeli here, we'll kill him. And they were bragging about how they'd killed Israelis before in the hospital. And that made massive headlines. That was a huge shakeup here in Australia. The fact that medical professionals can talk and brag about, say something like that. They lost their jobs and everything. But so there's been a paranoia, or I wouldn't call it a paranoia. There's been a realistic concern about Jewish people going to those hospitals. So yeah, they were under aliases. And I have a friend, one of the people in our shul, who's a doctor there, and in that hospital, and he was trying to reach out to see who needs food, like who are the victims here, like let's get them the care that they need. They need Hanukkah stuff, they need food, they need care, they need the families. And he went to the head of the hospital and said, can you put me in touch with them? And he said, they're under aliases and these are the names, but I didn't give them to you. And then later he asked him, he says, did you log in your system? Did you search those names that I gave you? And he said, yes. He says, okay, I'll let ASIA, which is like the FBI, I'll let them know, because anybody searches those names, they'll be investigating them. And, that's how serious they were taking it. I mean, in the days afterwards, there was helicopters flying around nonstop for a week afterwards at the whole Bondi. There was helicopters, police everywhere. And, Rabbi Ullman has been amazing. He lost his son-in-law, and, he lost so many people that he was so close to. But he said at the funeral of Eli, he said, we're not gonna let this take us down. We're going to continue. And he says, it's tragic and we're sad and we're broken, and we're not broken. It's sad, and, we're hurting, but we're going to move forward, and we're going to continue. And we owe it to the Kedoshim. We owe it to the holy people who were killed, to continue on. And that's our responsibility. And he said, we're going to go back on the 8th night, and we're going to light the menorah again, because we didn't get to light it on the first night. And we're going to make it bigger and better than ever. And there were 20,000 people showed up on the 8th night, Jews and non-Jews. And it was so heartwarming to see. I'm not sure the government was so excited about the security challenge. There were snipers on the roofs and everything. And it was an incredible display of light over darkness.
Can you maybe talk a little bit about some of the people that you knew that were lost, just kind of to bring up their memory?
I'll speak about Rabbi Eli Schlenger. I mean, Rabbi Yaakov lived in, he was my good friend, previous neighbor. And He's the quiet behind the scenes guy, just gets things done without any fanfare. Rabbi Eli Schlanger was that outgoing, typical Chabad rabbi. He was about 40 years old, just, bubbly, and just everybody loves him. And I remember for bragging with him with Yutes Kislev, not even a week before Chanukah, at the Kabad Bondi. We were talking and we were chatting in the stairwell, and he was on fire. And I remember thinking at the time, he's really found his calling. He's really, and he was living it. He was like on fire. He wasn't one of these rabbis or people that were in it for the glory, or in it, or would preference somebody with money over somebody else. Eli Schlanger used to drive 3-4 hours each way to visit one Jew in jail. He was a chaplain for the jails as well. To go there and put on tefillin with him and learn with him. And he would come back, and he would come back so excited and tell me, do you know what happened? Like, I went there and I helped this guy. We're learning. It's amazing. And there was this Jew that he just helped get out of jail, and he was so excited about it. And he was just on fire. I remember thinking, wow, this man is so genuine, is so authentic. And we were bragging also about Sheva Mitzvahs, about the 7 Noahide laws. He had started a project called Project Noah, which is basically teaching the 7 Noahide laws. So you have people come through the shul, they do Friday night dinners, and they do different educational programs. They had the Roosters, which is our local rugby team, come through the shul last week, and he was on fire about Sheva Mitzvahs. And Sheva Mitzvahs is also one of the 10. So that the Lubavitcher Rebbe has 10 mitzvahs. So put on tefillin with people, women lighting Shabbos candles, all those sorts of things. One of them is teaching the world about Sheva Mitzvahs, and it's the one that I feel gets the most ignored, because people are like, what? There's this natural mentality within the Jewish community of feeling like there's so much hate around, and let's just like lock in on just focusing on us, and they hate us anyways. What's the point? I feel that that's a pervasive mentality. And but the Rebbe said we have to do Sheva Mitzvahs, and we have to teach the world about it. And it's one of the last. It was his last mitzvah, and I feel it's one of the last things that we have to do before, like, to help bring Mashiach. And I also feel that it's what the Rebbe was saying is that this is the answer to everything. It's the answer to anti-Semitism. It's the answer to bringing Mashiach, because when Mashiach comes, it's not just about the Jewish people. It's about the whole world. It's about the whole world seeing godliness and seeing the truth and living in harmony and peace. It's not just the Jewish people being saved. And this is part of getting to that. Living by a code of moral ethics, the foundation which Western civilization was built upon, is the Sheva Mitzvahs. That's what made Western civilization the greatest civilization, is the fact that it was based upon rule of law, the family unit.
Do you know the 7 mitzvahs offhand, like really quickly?
Yeah. So really quick, it's belief in one God, one higher power, the creator of the universe, one God for everyone. Call it God, call it nature, call it higher power, but it's one. And it's one God for everyone. 2 is not to desecrate God's name. Respect God and respect God's world. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get the order, but it's basically don't kill, don't steal, set up courts and police rule of law. Don't eat, no animal cruelty, so don't eat from a living animal. And for the other one is the family unit, so proper sexual relations. So it's just basic morality. Respect the world, respect the people around you. Don't be cruel, don't steal, don't kill, and have a rule of law, have courts and police. Live by a basic framework that enables people to live in peace while respecting themselves, their environment, God, and the world.
Interesting. So let's get back to Eli.
So Eli.
Yeah.
So Eli and I were going on about this, and Eli was telling me how passionate he is about this, and I was so excited. that there's somebody else who saw it in the same way. And I was like, this is incredible what you've set up. And then he was killed, not even a week later. And a friend of mine, Eli Herbst, said, we got to do something. After the attack, a few days later, he said, we have to do something for Eli's memory. And he said, let's organize a paddle out to promote the Sheva Mitzvahs, the 7 Noahide laws, and Project Noah. So I said, great idea. So I put out a little blurb, said, in honor of Eli, Sheva Mitzvahs, Project Noah, we're going to organize Friday morning, 6:30 a.m., a paddle out at Bondi Beach. And spread it around. And we thought we'd get, a few hundred people coming, and that would be amazing. 6:30 on, we bought donuts, and we got these little Shabbos candles and cards, which said light over darkness. And our friend David Solsky got involved, and we got the local surfing clubs and running groups that are at Bondi Beach in the morning to promote it to their groups. And we originally ordered 500 donuts because we thought that would be more than enough. And then we upped it to 700. 6:30 on Friday morning, you get there, and there's thousands of people there.
Wow.
And mostly non-Jewish people. And there's news, all the news stations are there. And it was this incredible event. And I spoke about the Sheva Mitzvahs, and I spoke about what's happened in the 2 years previously about anti-Semitism and how it's built up, what's happened to our family and the community. And it was so well received. And when I spoke about Sheva Mitzvahs, and people were like, wow, this. And what's happened is for the first time, the Australian Jewish community, which has been such a big part of Australia since the founding of Australia, since the first fleet, there's been Jews here. But the mentality here is kind of like, fly under the radar. For the first time, the entire Australia was looking at the Jewish community, and there was a microphone in our mouth. And we got to tell Australia who we are from our own mouth. And what Australia heard is all these messages of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of the Torah, of light over darkness, of Sheva Mitzvahs, B'nai Noach, about love and kindness, world peace, Mashiach. And they're like, these people are incredible. And they've been eating it up, and and the whole Australia has been hugging us and comforting us and consoling us and trying to see what they can do. I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of messages from people on all platforms. Anybody that I knew at any point in time has reached out, trying to help out, and so many volunteering. The New South Wales government has come out and set up a campaign, a mitzvah for Bondi. I mean, the New South Wales government is doing mitzvah. That's the campaigns. Do a mitzvah for Bondi, light over darkness.
Wow.
The government's been, putting menorahs everywhere. On the Opera House, they had a moment of silence at the fireworks on New Year's Eve with the menorah on the Harbor Bridge. I mean, the message of Hanukkah, the message of light over darkness, the message of the Rebbe taught us of what Hanukkah is all about, has been promoted by not just us, but every news media outlet here in Australia, the government here in Australia, and it's become common language. And it's taught me such an important lesson, is that when Jews are proud and own their Judaism, and instead of hiding or trying to just, let things pass by and just keep quiet, but we actually say, hey, I'm Jewish. And you know what it means to be Jewish? This is what it means. These are our values. This is who we are. This is what we believe. We believe in love and kindness and making the world a better place. Then people have the opportunity to actually say, wow, that's something that I can get behind. And that's something that I love, because otherwise what happens is the people who don't like us tell our story for us. If we're not going to tell our story, they will. And the stories that they tell are not great stories. They say genocide and baby killers, and they're creating the narrative because there's a vacuum, because the Jewish community at times is afraid to speak and share their own story to the world. And this is what the Rebbe taught us, is we have to go and we have to educate the world, and we have to spread the light, spread the Torah, spread the light of Chassidus. It says, when will Mashiach come? When the light of Pnimius Torah, when the light of Chassidus will spread to the whole world. And that's what we see really happening here. When that happens, the response is incredible.
What do you make of the shooters? What do you think motivated them, and how do you feel about it? Like,
To me,
how do you make sense of what their idea of what motivated that hate comes from?
I don't know. I don't think about them as individuals, really. I just think, I mean, they're obviously indoctrinated with hate and a philosophy of hate. And the way I see it is that God created a world where there's good and evil, right? God created a world where there's equal opportunity for both to exist, right? So obviously they're representing and they're part of the side of evil and darkness. And God said, there's a world of good and evil. Your job is to ensure that the good wins and the light overcomes the darkness. And that's our job and that's our mission in this world. So when evil and darkness rises its head, it shouldn't be a surprise to us. And it shouldn't be a shock or how could this happen? It should be a reminder that no, we have to double down on our light. This is why we're here. Yeah, there's evil still. Mashiach's not here. And we have to ensure that the light wins. And instead of hiding or cowering or, shrinking, saying, no, this is a reminder to spread our light even greater.
I want to ask one final question about the families of those who lost loved ones. If you can share anything about how they're coping.
It's very tough. Very, very tough. We were closest probably with the Levitins. Visited them a few times at Shiva. I mean, they were still in a state of shock. And it's probably going to take them a long time for it to really hit. Beautiful kids, little kids. It's going to be very tough, And the Ullmans and the Schlangers. I know Ellie's wife was also shot. She was recovering, and their baby was hit. Their 1 or 2 month old baby was hit by shrapnel. So we're just trying to pick up the pieces. I haven't seen them lately because I just got back from Israel, but it's going to be a very tough recovery. I mean, people like us, it's a story, we hear about it, you gain strength from it, hopefully, and you move on. But their life is never going to be the same. Their life is never going to be the same. Yeah.
Did you go to a bunch of shivas?
Yeah, I went to shivas, went to funerals. It was just nonstop. In the days afterwards, I got lost. In my way of coping was to throw myself into helping the community. And I was speaking to Rabbi Wolf, the main rabbi of the Central Synagogue, right after the next day, and the president just said, what can we do? We have to set up, we have to make the shul a center to help the community. And Rabbi Wolf said, okay, the Zaka team's coming in. There's a few jobs here. People need food at the hospitals. Let's make a WhatsApp group to get some volunteers to help us with all these tasks. So I made a WhatsApp group, added people from our community, and all this, and I put on restrictions that not anybody can join. So I had to approve everybody that came, and the group just started exploding. And I couldn't approve people quick enough. They were coming in quicker than I could approve it, till the group filled up 1,024 people. You can't have more than that. And we just started handling all the requests and of what needed to be done. And it was just all day I'm just on my phone, just connecting requests to volunteers. The Zaka team needed to come in. So we had to get them rides. We had to get them accommodation. People at the hospital needed food.
The Zaka team are the people who help with the bodies?
The search and rescue team, yes. There's this organization in Israel, and they collect the blood and all the body parts to ensure proper Jewish burial, and also to ensure comfort that they know that their family member, the full body, is buried and is there. And that's a whole nother story in of itself, how they got it and what they did. When we were in Israel, we went and visited their headquarters. In their office. They said, please come down. They wanted to show their team people who were there. And they gave me an award, which was very, very moving. They gave me a medal for my help. And they named me an official Zaka volunteer, which I was extremely moved by, because these guys are angels. They go into the worst situations and they do the worst, just the worst work. And the holiest and such important work. And it takes a real toll on them. It takes a real toll on their personal lives. One of them, after October 7th, he was telling me he couldn't see his family for 19 weeks. And he had a grandson's bar mitzvah and he couldn't go. And they just keep on doing it. And they just keep on doing it because this one needs to be done. And so to be named as amongst them for me was an incredible honor. So just that was my way of coping, just trying to help out the community. But at some point I just saw I was ignoring my family, and I said, I need to stop a minute. So I created another group of just volunteers, admins to help manage the volunteering group. And there was so much good that was done out of it. And so many people just wanted to help out. And it was the mitzvahs that were done on the back of this thing were, I'm sure, shaken the higher heavens and has really woken up, and hopefully, and I'm sure, has brought Mashiach closer, and hopefully Mashiach will come to today.
Amen. Wow, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so touched by everything. It's funny because I've been very, very reluctant to talk to anyone from Kabad. I come from Satmar, and we're very skeptical about Chabad. And in my own work, I've always stayed away from interviewing Chabad people. I've always been a little nervous. Maybe I don't know who, I don't know enough to be able to go there. And it's been very moving to hear you talk about this really horrific experience and the way you frame it in your faith and in this tremendous big-heartedness. It's very meaningful to me that you shared this. So I really am grateful. Is the FBI still in your house?
I think they've just left. They took statements. I think they left because I hear the baby.
Got it. Got it.
But you know what? On your last comment, I will say one thing. One of the things that this whole thing has really highlighted, we went to Israel, and I just led a volunteering mission of young adults to Israel. Just over a week after the attack. And we were in Israel for 2 weeks. And in that time, we visited the Knesset, and we met with different ministers. They all wanted to meet with us. And everywhere we went, they said, "Oh, you're from Sydney. I'm so sorry about the attack." And you see how moved people were. Just regular Israelis, religious, not religious, from Hasidish, anybody. And it just highlighted for me, we're all one family. You know that already, but to actually experience that after something that's really impacted us, we are all one family. I know in my family, I'm the oldest of 7 siblings, and we're all different. And our differences are not what make us more divided. It's actually what makes us more rich. And our different, each sibling adds their unique flavor to the family. And the same thing is with all the Jewish people. That every Jewish person comes with their own customs and traditions and backgrounds and perspectives. And that each of those add to the tapestry of who we are. And it shouldn't, God forbid, be something that divides us or keeps us segmented, but actually when we embrace it, we realize it adds to our richness of who we are. And, Shivim Panim LaTorah, there's 70 faces to the Torah. And that's what God wants. God wants us to each bring our own unique qualities and celebrate together. We really are one people, and our strength is in our unity. And, when we lean into it, it's so comforting.
Thank you. Thank you. That was lovely. I love that. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for sharing everything. It's been so, you've really just opened up and shared, and I really appreciate that. It's been very meaningful to listen to your testimony.
My pleasure, Freda, and thank you for all of your work. You're trying to give people insight into the Jewish perspective and to the Jewish community, and that's very important. And I bless you to continue bringing your light,
Amen.
your unique light to the world.
Amen.
And you have an opportunity every single day in your work, right? You get Jewish people, non-Jewish people, people of all backgrounds. And if you can show and highlight who are the Jewish people, at the end of the day, our job is to be a light unto the nations. That's our mission. Doesn't matter what background you come from. That's our God-given mission to the world. And if you can help the world to see our light that we bring to the world, that's a tremendous thing. And I'm sure you do that in an incredible way. I've watched your videos. And even though you've left the Satmar community, but you still love and embrace the traditions and the customs, and you don't shy away from it. You lean into it. And that's kind of the platform that you've created on the back of that. So, that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. That was very nice. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you, and thank you for the opportunity to share. And
yes,
it's really nice to get to meet you.
Yes, same. Please look after yourself and your family. I know you have so much going on. I won't take any more of your time. I really am very, very appreciative of your time. All right. Okay. Thank you.
All the best. Thanks so much, Freda.
Yeah. Good Shabbos. Thank you.
Shabbos. Bye.